Think you know medieval life? Forget castles, kings, and epic battles. The real drama didn't happen in the throne rooms, it happened in inns. Crowded, noisy, smelly, and sometimes deadly, these were the places where travelers, merchants, peasants, and even criminals collided in one chaotic space. Picture it: strangers packed shoulder to shoulder, ale flowing like a river, dice games turning friends into enemies, beds shared with people you'd never met. And that's just the beginning. Want to survive a night here? You need wits, nerves of steel, and maybe a strong stomach. Step inside. We're about to uncover the shocking, hilarious, and sometimes terrifying reality of the medieval inn. You think waiting 20 minutes for your takeout is bad? In a medieval inn, you didn't even know what you were getting. The menu was a mystery, literally. Stew could contain rabbit, squirrel, goat, or something that had definitely run across the forest floor that morning. Travelers joked that asking what meat was in the stew would result in the innkeeper laughing and slamming the bowl on the table anyway. Bread wasn't just a side, it was a trencher, a dense slab that doubled as your plate. Once soaked in stew, it could be eaten or discarded to the pigs outside. Nothing went to waste. And sometimes yesterday's porridge became today's mystery meat base. It was culinary roulette. One bite and you might be lucky, or you might wish you'd fasted all day. And the smells. Oh, the smells. A medley of cooking meat, spilled ale, unwashed travelers, and farm animals often made entering an inn an olfactory adventure you might never forget. Think of it as a survival test for your senses before you even take a seat. Water could kill you. Seriously. Contaminated wells and rivers meant that drinking water was risky. Ale was the safer option. But don't imagine the chilled, crisp beer you enjoy today. Medieval ale was thick, cloudy, and packed with calories. It was liquid bread for survival. Some peasants consumed up to a gallon a day, children included. Yes, 5-year-olds casually sipping ale with their meals. It gave calories, hydration, and a slight buzz that made life's hardships a little more bearable. But one extra mug could leave you sprawled on the floor next to a stranger snoring louder than a war drum, and inns kept ale flowing like it was a lifeline, because in many towns, it literally was. No ale? Travelers would complain. Ale rationed? Outrage. It's hard to overstate how essential this beverage was to daily life, and how hilariously dangerous overindulgence could be. Fancy utensils? Forget it. Forks were rare curiosities for nobles. Most diners relied on their hands, simple knives or spoons that had been washed once, maybe, before being handed down from stranger to stranger. Tables were arenas of chaos. Imagine long wooden tables filled with strangers elbowing for bread, trying to grab the last piece of meat, all while sharing gossip, insults, and occasionally their morning's laundry habits. Survival required dexterity and nerves of steel. Stab the wrong person with your knife, and the argument could escalate quickly. Communal dining meant that news traveled faster than any messenger could run. A whispered rumor at one end of the table could ignite a feud by the time the stew cooled. And if you thought spilling your ale was bad, try dodging a flying trencher while maintaining your dignity. Dining in a medieval inn was equal parts entertainment, chaos, and social survival. As the candles burned low, tables cleared, and benches pushed aside, the inn transformed into a massive dormitory. Beds, shared, mattresses, straw-stuffed and lumpy, 4 adults per mattress, standard practice, privacy, a concept as foreign as electric lights. And let's not forget the bed bugs, lice, and fleas. Every night was a wrestling match with tiny predators. Snoring strangers pressed against you, drunken companions fell off their beds, and the smell, well, it's best left to imagination. Survival here meant sleeping strategically, elbows tucked, valuables close, and a willingness to endure anything. Even if you were lucky enough to snag a corner, you weren't safe. The innkeeper's motto was simple: there's always room for one more, especially if they can pay. And pay they did, even if it meant sharing a mattress with someone who had questionable hygiene habits. If you had gold in your pouch, congratulations, you could afford a private chamber. But luxury? That's a modern concept. Thin walls, doors rarely locked, mice scuttling across the floor, and bedding that promised comfort but delivered, well, a questionable night's sleep. Many travelers brought their own blankets, rolled into makeshift barriers against critters. Even then, rodents often won the battle. And remember, these rooms weren't soundproof. Snoring servants, drunken nobles, and occasional brawls meant no one truly slept in peace. A private room didn't guarantee comfort, just slightly fewer strangers to fight off in the night. As darkness settled, inns didn't quiet down. They came alive. Dice games, singing, storytelling, and arguments flourished in the flickering firelight. Friendly wagers often escalated into bitter feuds within minutes. Ale flowed freely, laughter turned into shouting, and the inn-cat prowled like a furry enforcer. Songs were loud, sometimes nonsensical, and often involved dancing on tables. Brawls were inevitable, but rarely fatal, unless a weapon was involved. This was not just entertainment, it was a survival skill. Watching the chaos unfold and picking your battles was just as important as finishing your stew. Beyond food and drink, inns were hubs of information. Gossip flowed like ale, rumors spread faster than wildfire, and trade secrets passed from merchant to merchant. Some inns even acted as early mail stops, passing letters along trade routes, delivering news or warning of bandits. A careless word could ruin your business or travel plans. Listen closely, and you'd hear everything from market prices to the latest feud between noble families. Inns were chaotic, yes, but they were the lifeline of communication in a world without phones or newspapers. Rules existed, sometimes. Pay your bill or risk losing your horse, sword, or dignity. Sword fights inside, instant debt. Curfews, suggestions at best. Theft was rampant. Clever travelers sewed their coins into clothing or hid valuables around their beds. The innkeeper's authority was absolute, and enforcement came with a heavy stick or a well-aimed boot. Survival required observation, cunning, and sometimes pure luck. One wrong move, and you might wake up with fewer possessions, or worse. Open flames, cooking fires, and drunken patrons made inns fire hazards. Overcrowded beds spread lice, fleas, and contagious illnesses. Some inns even became breeding grounds for plague. Clever thieves mingled with guests, learning travel plans to strike when people were most vulnerable. Staying at an inn meant navigating danger on every side: fire, disease, criminals, and sometimes even rogue animals. You didn't just visit an inn, you survived it. Despite the dangers, inns were indispensable. They offered shelter, warmth, food, and social connection. They were survival hubs, marketplaces, social networks, and information centers all rolled into one chaotic, unpredictable package. Travelers returned because the alternative was far worse: camping in the cold, facing thieves, or wandering aimlessly between towns. Inns, messy and dangerous as they were, made the medieval world navigable. They were imperfect, yes, but essential. So next time you moan about a slow waiter, a lumpy bed, or questionable hotel food, remember the medieval inn. Beds shared with strangers, thieves lurking, plague-spreading critters, and stew that might have walked itself to your bowl. Comfort and convenience, luxuries. Chaos and danger, standard procedure. If you loved this wild trip through medieval madness, hit like, share with your history-obsessed friends, and subscribe for more shocking, hilarious, and jaw-dropping stories from the shadows of the past. Got a medieval mystery you want unraveled? Drop it in the comments. Let's explore it together.